Wanted to share some good news. There was a local news story that was posted on Reddit where there was an interview with a spokesperson for the Jehovah's Witnesses. And he said something very interesting. And some more information that I wish I knew it was a direct quote or not. He said that during 2020, there was 150 requests for information through the website per month in the United States. And the other thing the news anchor said was that this was a better response rate than they'd seen in 10 years, and they might never go back to knocking on doors again. It sounded like she was quoting the spokesperson, but I don't know for certain. Maybe she was reading into things or misinterpreting it. We'll put that interesting nugget to the side, and we'll focus on what we know is a direct quote. 150 requests for information per month. Now, this wasn't requests for Bible studies. It was just requests for response, for more information. Let's do some back of the napkin math. There's a million-ish publishers in the United States, and we'll disregard the changes to timekeeping during COVID. And we'll just go with the old national average of 10-ish hours. So 10 million hours per month. $10 million hours per month. That's 67,000 man hours per single contact through the website. That is pathetic. It is just terrible. And to brag about that, we'll take a grain of salt with what the news anchor said and assume that that is also true, but we'll just focus on what he said. To brag about 150 contacts per month is pathetic. It is just, I can't overstate how just really bad that is. It makes me very happy. Now, this to me says that they know what the actual purpose of the preaching work is. And if you're not familiar with that, buckle in. So let's talk about some of the evidence for knowing, for the Watchtower at large, understanding the actual purpose of the preaching work. Stephen Hassan, other cult experts say that the purpose of sending members out to preach, to knock on doors, to stand on corners with signs or hand out pamphlets, whatever, isn't mainly to get new recruits. That's a side benefit, but mostly it's self-indoctrination. Mind control in a cult requires participation of the members. You can't force it on them. That's why they tell you that you need to study and pray and read their publications and not miss, and prepare for the meetings and not miss any of them, and do family worship. All those things are self-indoctrination. They require your participation to work. So when you're even they will have parts on the meetings about my faith is never stronger than after I've been out in service and explaining my beliefs to others. It's self-indoctrination. You are saying things you're not convincing as a salesperson if you don't believe it yourself. And you have people around you that are reinforcing what you're saying. They're nodding along, they're adding to it, they're agreeing with you. It reinforces the things that you're saying. The other purpose of the preaching work, there are a couple purposes, is reinforcing the us versus them mentality. You go out and you do something embarrassing and weird. It's a weird thing to do. It's a weird thing to go out in a suit and knock on someone's door early in the morning on the weekend. It causes a lot of anxiety. I hated it. It was the worst. I would just pray. I would pray that no one was home. And when I saw movement, I was like, oh no, my prayer hasn't been answered. There's someone coming. Just the act of going out causes anxiety. Never mind when you get someone rude or who makes you feel stupid. And so then you have this negative experience and you go back to the car group or the field service group and they welcome you back with open arms. Oh, I'm so sorry, brother or sister. they're there. Oh, they were mean to you. Oh, but you did so good. You did what you needed to do, and Jehovah and Jesus are proud of you. It's an abusive relationship. They are the group that is responsible for putting you in a position where you are being put in an uncomfortable situation, being embarrassed or feeling anxiety or having someone yell at you. The same group that is causing that is also the source of comfort. So it reinforces the idea that everyone outside of this group is mean and rude and unfair and to be avoided, and the in-group, those are the nice people that comfort me. It's also busy work. One of the things that cults need to do is keep their members very, very busy, keep them tired and busy, because then they don't think. You have reduced mental faculties. It keeps you from questioning doctrine if you're not able to have time for critical thinking. So keeping them busy is important. And so let's look at the evidence that the Watchtower knows what the game is about. Like I said, 67,000 hours per contact is pathetic. You would fire an ad agency in a heartbeat, even with free labor, if that was your return on that amount of effort. You could do so many more effective things than wasting that much time. The Mormon Church, Scientologists, they advertise on the radio, on TV, on buses, billboards, on the internet. The Mormon Church has an official YouTube channel where they put their apologetics for things that people criticize the Mormons for. It's not convincing, but it's something. The witnesses don't do that. They don't expend any effort in those areas. They have a website with a lot of translations, but they are not trying to engage with anybody. It is it's a very small walled garden. You have to come to them. They're not embracing any sort of social media, modern digital marketing, targeted advertising, native advertising. Like, they're not. They're using sales techniques, because it's a publishing company, as we must remind ourselves, it is a outdated publishing company. They're using sales techniques that were ineffective 50 years ago. Knocking on doors, like the boomer mentality of getting a job. You gotta talk to the manager, give him a firm handshake, and make eye contact, and that's how I got all my jobs. Knocking on doors isn't how sales are done anymore. Not generally, not for things that aren't scams or multi-level marketing campaigns. I don't know what shower is. The sandwich boards that we would see in the old pictures. Religion is a snare and a rack. Walking around with your little picket signs. That's what a cart is, except it's not on a person. It's next to a person. It's the same exact thing. Writing letters to people. These are very old-fashioned sales techniques. Things can be done cheaper, more efficiently, more in bulk today. If they wanted to, if their focus was getting new members and or spreading the message as much as possible, they could change just a few basic things. They could contract bulk mailing companies. Instead of having members write letters and patchily covering small areas, writing their own letters, have a few letters, do A/B testing, and just blast them out over the community. Other churches do that. I get flyers in the mail for churches in the South. They get bulk discount rates. You wouldn't have members writing their own letters, which may be kooky or ineffective. Save a lot of time. In this case, you do get to offload the cost of postage to your members, so that does save you materials and cost. So, not looking out for their members there. But they would do something like that if it was really about spreading things far and wide, even with their, even with the exact same technique of writing letters. So that's why I think that they know the game is not about getting new recruits, because this is a massive waste of time. Massive waste of time for the members. If it was about what they say it's for, recruiting new people, spreading the message. If it's not, it's working fine. So here's where I think this is extra funny. If it's true that they said this is the best response rate they've gotten in 10 years and they might never go back door to door, interesting for them to admit that this extremely low level of interest is fine, that they're not aiming for more. And if they don't go back to door knocking, that's also interesting because that's a doctrinal shift. I thought we were commissioned to knock on every door. If they do, I wonder if that will be making them more insular. So from this point on, this is just me guessing at stuff. So early on in the pandemic, they did text and email messaging for witnessing, but they quickly stopped that because, if you do 30 seconds of Googling, you're going to be like, hey, so what about that child abuse? Or, tell us again about the end of the world predictions. Look, I have a bunch of sources cited here. So they're like, oh no, apostates, don't do that. And they had to resort, and same for phone calls. They also were like, make sure you don't say that you're a witness or people will hang up. It seems like letter writing is the only thing that they've settled on. So that says to me that they're out of ideas. Because again, let's look at the real purpose again. Self-indoctrination, embarrassment and discomfort, so that the in-group, out-group thing, and keeping people busy. Letter writing does not really accomplish any of these very well. From what I've seen with letter writing, from what I've read of other people's experience, I never did it. Maybe some of the very honest witnesses will actually, hand scribble letters for hours. But it seems like a lot of the time it's one letter over an hour and a half of chit-chatting and sipping your coffee. It's not a sweatshop pounding out letters and giving yourself carpal tunnel. Doesn't seem like it's doing that. So self-indoctrination, not really. You're not getting any sort of response, positive or negative. So you're just letters off into the void. From what I've seen, also a lot of the return addresses are the Kingdom Hall, where the elders can screen for apostasy. So, apostate, throw that in the trash. Make sure that no one sees that. So you're not getting the fear and anxiety response, the in-group, out-group thing. You're also not getting a positive response, which to me was also faith strengthening, even if someone didn't agree. Talking to someone who is also a Christian or is interested in talking about anything was a positive experience. It made service more enjoyable. You're not getting any response. So what are you even doing? And then the third thing about time wasting, again, if you're farting around drinking coffee, it's not really doing that either. So to me, it's very interesting to see where they will go in the near future, because it seems like they're out of ideas. If the best you could come up with doesn't really accomplish any of the three targets for this activity, kind of in trouble. You're kind of in trouble, because the only other thing you can do is make the group even more insular and get that fear and anxiety from other things. If you're not getting it from the preaching, where you just gotta be weird. You gotta be weird and closed off and like paranoid of the outside world. I find it very, very interesting though. And when I just want you to treasure, just think about 67,000 man hours a month to get one question during a pandemic when people are at home and bored. That's the best that they could do. When people are trapped at home and looking for anything to do. Sure, I guess I'll engage with this cult. See, never done that before. That might kill some time. Not even a fraction of a percent per hall. There isn't even a whole number of responses per hall per month. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of a percent. So positive news there. 100% from the spokesperson. Their current methods are wildly inefficient. And there is, I think, good reason to think that this will wake people up. If you're not getting any positive or negative responses, how are you not going to feel like this is just a waste of your time? If you are religiously devout, not all witnesses are, but if you are religiously devout, how are you not going to question, like, how am I fulfilling this supposedly super important commission to preach to everybody if I'm getting no responses? It feels like I'm wasting my time. Or if the rest of the people in your congregation are, what you would see as slackers. Good for them. I'm glad they're not writing letters. But if everybody else is averaging a letter a month, because you can count, just say active, I preached to one person this month, so I'm active. You literally don't have to do anything. If you are devout pioneer, honest with your time, writing letters for 50 hours a month and no one else is doing hardly anything, how's that not going to make you start questioning things? Makes me happy. Makes me very, very happy. It's wild that they would admit to that number. Just wild. It's so bad. It's such a waste of time. Makes me happy. So that's all I've got. I thought that was very interesting. Show the Watchtower Society how bad they are at online engagement by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Comment below. Tell me what you think. What's your interpretation of this whole little tiny but very interesting nugget of information? In the future, I want to share one of my terrible field service experiences. So if you've got some good ones, I'd like to hear about them. So anyway, there's some deer outside. You won't be able to see it. My camera is not good enough to zoom in, but there's a couple deer eating grass on the hill. Aw. I'm going to treasure this moment as the sun sets at work and watch these deer. The world is beautiful. What a beautiful nature. I'm going to have a nice quiet moment with myself and watch these deer. So you right there. You have a fantastic day. Treasure the fact that the Watchtower Society is dumb and very bad at being a cult. That's a good thing. It's great. Hopefully our friends and family will wake up to this dumb nonsense at some point. And if not, hopefully no one new will get sucked in. So, I'm going to go look at Bambi. You have a great day. I'll see you next time.